Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Spirit of Justice. So we are going to head off and talk to Ellen, and after talking to Ellen, we'll be going right into the court section, the first day of the trial, because we definitely didn't look into a lot of stuff, so there's definitely going to be a second day of this trial coming up. Like, we didn't go down to the holding there dock, even though it was mentioned a few times. Excuse me.
No! Why?
Please understand that this is in Master Soren's best interest. Oh. Is she talking with, Pierce? Sounds like Ellen's busy talking with someone. Pierce. The next president cannot be married to a criminal. It would disgrace Sprocket Aviation. Miss Ellen, I need you to forget about this marriage. Pardon us. If it isn't Mr. Right. So, their marriage is definitely off? There's no other choice. We cannot have a criminal in the family. Okay, but we haven't proven that she's a criminal. For the sake of Master Soren and the Sprocket family, this is what is best.
No. In that case, what if Nick here proved Ellen's innocence? Then you wouldn't have a criminal in the family, right?
I suppose you are right, but I am afraid that will be impossible.
That's not true! Not for Nick. He may look like a nobody, but he can do some pretty amazing things.
I don't take cases on lightly, so rest assured, I will prove her innocence. Mr. Phoenix Wright, I understand your name is quite well known in the judicial world. For better or for worse. Pierce, I want you to promise me this. If I can prove Ellen's innocence, then you won't stand in the way of Soren and Ellen's marriage. Very well. But not even the most talented lawyer in the world can change reality itself. I noticed that his tie is even shaped like the hands of a clock. I never noticed that until now. And the reality is, Miss Ellen is guilty beyond a shadow of a doubt. I believe that's where you're wrong, Pierce.
I'm clean! I swear I am. Obsessively, compulsively clean. Just as clean and pure as this pure white dress!
Fine. You have my word, but you will be the one to regret this promise. Now, if you will excuse me. What a rainbow and sunshine kind of guy. Now I'll have all the more reason to win this case. Ellen, we finished our investigation, and we'd like to talk with you about what we found. Put yourself together, girl. We'll be fine.
Okay, so what did you find out?
Loading. In the course of our investigation, we heard that you had been seen standing in front of the victim with the murder weapon in your hands.
It wasn't what it looked like! It's true I was holding the murder weapon. But when I found him, he was already dead. I panicked. And I was hoping I could go back in time again, like I had done earlier. So I picked up the timekeeper from the pedestal and brought it over without thinking.
You were so desperate, you were ready to try anything, huh? Unfortunately, that sort of behavior makes you an easy target for the prosecution.
No.
And as for your little trip through time, none of your in-laws could confirm your story, I'm afraid. Or they're hiding something.
I see.
The only exception is Larry. He said he saw something.
Really? What did he see?
Can't say I quite believe it myself, but Larry claims he saw something incredible. He claims he saw a pterodactyl flying outside the airship. Why is there ever a P in pterodactyl when you never even say the P word? The P in the... English.
What?
Not only that, but apparently Pierce Nicody told Larry to keep quiet about it.
But why would Pierce do such a thing?
Larry's theory is that Sprocket Aviation is developing something in secret. A time machine, to be exact.
Do you think that's why nobody would confirm my story? Because it's a secret?
I really don't know. But speaking of your in-laws, we did manage to find your keycard at Sprocket Manor. One of your in-laws said he'd keep an eye on it for you.
Oh, thank goodness! I lost it while I was getting things ready for the reception. I'd looked everywhere for it. I'm so glad that you found it.
At least there are tears of joy this time, for a change.
Well, Nick, it looks like you'll have to prove the existence of time travel in court tomorrow.
That's right. I swear that while Mr. Gloomsbury was being killed, I was busy traveling back through time.
Great, with Stogie Skeptic Edgeworth at the helm for the prosecution tomorrow. We're really gonna have our work cut out for us. Yeah, Edgeworth is not gonna take any of that crap. That to be continued? That took a while for that to be continued to show up. No, we're not saving. Let's go into the trial itself now. I'm not sure how much we're gonna get through, but we'll see. At least try to get through the first testimony, hopefully.
Good morning, Mr. Wright.
Good morning, Ellen. I see you're still wearing your wedding gown.
And I will continue to wear it until our marriage is saved.
Or, you know, they just didn't have the money to give you normal clothes for this part. Or just no space in the game.
Oh, Soren!
Do you think he came to see how she's holding up?
Soren, my love, you came all the way to the courthouse just to see me? Oh, Soren, I don't know what to say.
Blueprints.
Huh?
The engine blueprints. I can't find them. Do you know where they are?
Oh, they're in your room. They're a shelf in the bottom, on the right-hand side.
Ah, I see.
He's leaving already?
Don't tell me he came just to ask about some stupid blueprints. Is he really that cold of a person? Or is that just how he comes off, I wonder?
think it's actually the latter in this case.
What about me, Soren?
Oh, he's back!
Ellen.
He's back.
Come home soon. I'm lost without you.
Oh!
Soren!
Oh! He cares!
Later.
He's just socially challenged, okay, guys?
Looks like showing your vulnerabilities is the fastest way to capturing a woman's heart. You should take notes on this, Nick.
Please leave me out of this. Anyway, it looks like Soren isn't big on words. But it's clear that he cares about Ellen. Knowing that, I actually feel kind of relieved. Put yourself together, girl.
Mr. Wright, I just absolutely cannot be found guilty. You hear?
Don't worry. I'm going to do everything I can to prove your innocence.
Thank you, Mr. Wright.
The trial is about to start, sir. Edgeworth. Knowing him, he's not going to yield an inch. So I've just got to fight with everything I've got and save Ellen. All rise! Court is now in session for the trial of Ellen Wyatt. The defense is ready, Your Honor. The prosecution has been ready for a while, Your Honor. Seeing so many familiar faces gathered together like this, I feel as though I'm at a grand reunion. It makes me want to go out for dinner and a drink and reminisce with all of you. Aww! That's cute! I would like to see this happen.
Oh, that sounds like a great idea. I was dying for a real burger the whole time I was away.
We could make it a welcome back party for Maya. How about it, Edgeworth? I have no intention of cavorting with my enemies. Oh, Edgeworth, please! Now then, Your Honor, let us start this trial at once. Oh, still not one for light-hearted banter, are you, Mr. Edgeworth? Jokes and good humor are beyond worthless in a court of law.
Guess we'll just have to have the party without him then.
Pretty sure we'll just drag you, Edgeworth. However, after the conclusion of this trial, I might consider joining you for your little welcome back party. Oh, there we go! He doesn't want to be left out. I certainly wouldn't mind an invite, at the very least.
He's still as emotionally constipated as ever, I see.
Now then, Mr. Edgeworth, if you could please go over the details of this case for us. The victim was Dumas Gloomsbury, a servant of the Sprocket household. He was in attendance at the wedding reception that occurred at from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Mr. Gloomsbury apparently felt some animosity towards Ellen Wyatt, and so, a bit after the reception ended at 10 p.m., he assaulted Miss Wyatt with the intent to kill her. The defendant fought back and ended up killing Mr. Gloomsbury. In other words, it was justified self-defense, correct? If that's the case, then the defendant might not be criminally responsible. He's right. Worst case scenario, I could go for self-defense to avoid the criminal charge. I wonder how Edgeworth plans to counter that, though. The prosecution's first witness will make my view on the matter clear, Your Honor. Very well. Bailiff, please bring in the first witness. I'm pretty sure it's probably Emma because, you know, detectives are always the first to come out. Yep. She's still got cool shoes. Got them nice shoes. Please state your name and occupation, witness.
Ema Skye, forensic investigator. And I'd just like to say, sir, That being in the same courtroom as you is a great honor.
Aww! She still loves Edgeworth. Oh, that's right. You're a fan of Edgeworth's, aren't you, Emma?
We're good friends and all, Mr. Wright. But just this once, I intend to faithfully and fully testify for the prosecution. And I do mean that wholeheartedly.
Emma, I expect no less from you.
Yes, sir. I'm going to do my very best.
Looks like you lost the popularity contest to Mr. Edgeworth, Nick.
Meh, I really could care less. Besides, she'll see who's the better lawyer once I win this trial. Oh, you totally care!
Yeah. Maybe then you'll actually really care less.
Now, Detective Skye, if you please. Find out their relationship in Ace Attorney Investigations 1 and 2. Anyway, run down to the case.
The murder weapon was a clock called the Timekeeper. The victim was hit with it from behind and he fell over right into the lantern. The defendant was spotted then, standing in front of the body holding the murder weapon. The victim was struck twice, by the way.
Twice? He was struck twice?
That's right, there's no mistake about it. The first blow was to the back of the victim's head. It was hard enough to knock him unconscious. Yet, despite the fact that he had been immobilized from the first blow, the defendant delivered a second, fatal blow to the side of the victim's head.
Which means what exactly? Edgeworth. I figured it would go right over your head. Let's put it this way. By striking the victim a second time, the defendant killed her last chance to escape from any criminal wrongdoing. She did? But how, Mr. Edgeworth? The defendant may have been fighting back because she was being attacked. However, she then went on to deliver a fatal blow to a man who was already fully unconscious.
Nick, is he saying what I think he is?
I don't feel so well. And thus, Mr. Wright has justified self-defense been removed from the table. The prosecution intends to prove that the defendant killed the victim with murderous intent. Allow me to belatedly submit the victim's autopsy report. Belatedly, you say? Is it an updated autopsy report too somewhere in this? So that's why he was acting all smug. Well, more smug than usual.
It's fine, right? It's not like we were gonna plead self-defense anyway, right?
Right, but now the judge has a negative impression of Ellen. He may not get to prosecute much anymore, but he definitely hasn't lost his touch. Oh boy. Now then, Mr. Wright, you may begin your cross-examination. No problemo. Alright, we're pressing everything, I believe. I don't think we need to skip anything either. Are you completely sure the murder weapon was the Timekeeper?
Yes, completely. The shape of the injury on the victim's head matches up with that of the Timekeeper. And it's definitely heavy enough to kill someone with.
But would the defendant have been able to pick up and swing something so heavy?
I tried it myself and I was able to lift it up just fine.
Maybe you're just freakishly strong?
Excuse me, Mr. Wright? have you know that people on the force know me as the dainty forensic investigator?
Sorry, but really, you're hardly a delicate flower. Mr. Wright, this is a court of law. Save your antics for after the trial, if you know how. Yes, sir. It won't happen again, sir.
Humph. Moving on.
I'm here for the banters between Wright and Edgeworth again. The defendant was fighting back against the victim, right? If so, wouldn't she have hit him from the front and not from behind?
The victim must have tried to run once Mr. Wyatt started fighting back. That's probably when he got hit from behind.
I see. Thus the blow to the back of his head.
The defendant must have looked awfully scary when she was brandishing that clock.
I don't know about that. Regardless of how scary Ellen looked, the victim was definitely hit from behind.
May I go on?
Yes, of course. Please do. But that's only because she was so panicked when she found the body. That she tried to use the timekeeper to go back in time. Oh boy, here we go. Mr. Wright, do you have any idea how absurd you sound? But Miss Wyatt really believed she could travel through time with that clock. You really should have come up with a more credible story, you know? Yes, I agree. Me three, but it's all I've got to go on.
Anyway, under the circumstances, the only conclusion we can draw is that the defendant killed the victim.
Miss Wyatt must have had a chance to escape after she struck the victim the first time. So why would she stick around and hit him with such a heavy object again?
Well, about that...
Allow me to explain. Why did she strike again, indeed? To finish off the victim, of course. This very act clearly shows that she had every intention of killing Mr. Gloomsbury. Ugh.
But Miss Wyatt would never do a thing like that.
Then let's see some evidence that disproves my theory.
Ugh. Are you gonna just stand there and take that from him, Nick?
I can't refute his claim head on, so I'll have to approach it from a different angle. Well, it looks like we won't be going anywhere until we can refute Edgeworth's claim.
This is so exciting. We haven't taken on Mr. Edgeworth in ages.
Yeah.
Okay, Nick. Now go get him.
No need to rush me, Maya. We are 35! You should do something about that! Alright, I better start by comparing Emma's testimony with the evidence we have. And look for any glaring inconsistencies. Alright, what we're gonna do now, let's go to the second statement and present the photo of the victim, because we gotta look at the stuff that's on him.
Objection!
Detective Skye, I'm afraid I have to apologize in advance.
For what?
For embarrassing you in front of your idol.
What do you mean?
If you take a look at this photo of the crime scene, you'll see that the victim is lying on his back. But if the victim had been hit from behind, as you claim, then he should have fallen over into the lantern face down. It's not enough to simply take someone's side, Detective Skye, even if it's Mr. Edgeworth's. There does appear to be a flaw in Detective Skye's testimony.
Hold it! Mr. Wright, if you think I'm going to just back right down, then you're sadly mistaken.
Emma is unusually fired up today.
Don't forget, she's in front of her hero, Nick. If the Steel Samurai came to watch this trial, I'd want to do my absolute best too.
Listen, Mr. Wright. It's entirely possible that the defendant moved the victim's body after he fell over. In that case, there wouldn't be any contradiction, right?
Indeed, that was an excellent counter-argument, Detective.
You can count on me, sir.
She's got Edgeworth goggles on her.
So, what do you have to say to that, Mr. Wright?
Is it possible that the victim's body was moved after he fell into the lantern? It's not possible. Sorry, Detective, but there's no way that a victim's body was moved after his death.
Oh, really? And what makes you so sure?
One look at this here and it should become obvious. Look at the debris that's on top of him.
Take that!
Those broken bits of the lantern?
Yes, if the body had been moved after the fact, these fragments would have fallen off of it. But as you can clearly see, they're lying perfectly undisturbed on top of the body. This means that the victim must have been lying face up from before the lantern even broke.
You're right!
But wait a minute. If that's true, then when was the victim killed? I mean, the lantern was still whole during the reception, right?
Right, which means we've just overturned a major assumption about this case. If the victim was already dead before the lantern was even broken, then the body must have been inside the lantern since before the reception started. In other words, the defense asserts that the victim was killed before the wedding reception. What? In short, when Miss Wyatt was seen standing in front of the body after the reception, it wasn't the moment just after the murder was committed. It was the moment she happened to discover the body, just as Miss Wyatt claims. Ah!
Objection!
Whether the act was committed before or after the reception is entirely inconsequential. After all, it was the defendant who prepared the reception hall for the event in question. Therefore, when the murder occurred changes nothing with regard to her guilt. She could have killed the victim before the reception, as you claim, and then tried to hide his body in the lantern after the event ended.
Objection!
Sorry, but that doesn't make any sense. I mean, where would the body have been hidden during the reception in your scenario? That's... Even you have to admit it, Mr. Edgeworth, that this has opened up a new possibility. Do explain, Mr. Wright. Well, if Miss Wyatt didn't commit the crime in the reception hall, then that means someone, somewhere, put the victim's body into the lantern. I suppose that makes sense. A dead body couldn't have put itself in there. Exactly, Your Honor. In other words, if the murder actually occurred before the reception, it opens up the possibility that he was killed somewhere else. If the body was hidden inside the lantern, then it's possible that the body was moved along with it from somewhere else.
Oh, you're right.
You can run that mouth of yours all you want. But do you have any evidence to support what's coming out of it, Mr. Wright? Of course I do. I think the answer lies in that piece of evidence, and in something that was left at the crime scene that will point us to where the victim was really killed. Very well, Mr. Wright. In that case, what proves that the lantern and the body were moved from somewhere else? The photo of the victim, And we're gonna point at the petals. Oops.
Take that!
The photo of the victim again?
Yes. I'd like the court to focus on this thing right here. Let's look at these petals. There were no petals like these in the reception.
Take that!
More than likely, I think the crime took place in the hold.
Flower petals, Mr. Wright?
These petals are from a kind of flower that were not present in the reception hall. This means they must have gotten into the lantern when it was somewhere else. And just where do you propose this somewhere else to be, Mr. Wright? I propose that this piece of evidence will tell us where the flower petals came from. We're looking at the pamphlet?
Take that!
One look at this, and you'll see exactly where the petals came from. Oh, I guess not. Are you sure about that, Mr. Wright? I am, Your Honor. I guess I'm... Oh, wait, I still had another picture. I thought I had to show the diagram pointed out, because I'm afraid I can't see how. Even if you take a really good look? Unfortunately not. What if you smell the evidence? What? Still nothing. Huh. That's odd. This is no laughing matter, defense. I hope this will teach you to take matters seriously. I suggest you refrain from embarrassing yourself any further with such stale jokes. I'll make sure to whip up a fresh batch for next time, then. Oh, joking aside, even though I was actually being serious, I propose that this piece of evidence will tell us where the flower petals came from. Okay, if it's not the diagram, I'm assuming it's this. Okay, probably this thing then. Please take a look at the flowers in this picture of the hold. Notice how their petals are of the same shape as the petals in the crime scene photo. Yes, I see. They do look to be from the same kind of flowers.
Objection!
Is that really all you've got? A flower is a flower is a flower. They're all the same. I would hardly call what you presented compelling evidence. I'm afraid I couldn't disagree with you more, Mr. Edgeworth. I gave a flower of this type to my lovely wife once when we were young. So I can assure you that this is very meaningful and compelling evidence indeed. The soundness of my judgment in this matter is backed by nothing less than pure love. But Your Honor... Oh, God. Let it go, Mr. Edgeworth. It's clear you don't know much about flowers. It's not like you have anyone you'd actually give any to, after all. Wow, that sick burn! But maybe you should study up on them, just in case the opportunity presents itself. Oh! This from the man who only knows the names of 3 types of flowers. That's hardly relevant to the case at hand. The defense asserts that it's highly probable that the victim was killed in the hold. If the body was then placed in the lantern and moved to the reception hall for some reason, it would completely destroy the prosecution's case.
Then you mean the body was...
Yes, the victim's body was inside the lantern during the entire beautiful wedding reception, while the defendant and her betrothed were celebrating their love. What? Rubble.
Objection!
Okay, I think we'll stop here when he says this thing. Your smooth talk might work on his honor, but it won't work for me. On me. Okay, sure, Edgeworth. The power of love will see us through anyway. Okay, alright, we'll stop here for now and continue in the next video. I'll see you guys then.
The defendant must have looked awfully scary when she was brandishing that clock.
I don't know about that.
Tick tock, motherfucker!